Doug, I'm really excited for our conversation today. You've really built an impressive career in CPG, leading the transformation of brands like Zing Zang, Popcornopolis, Dr. Fresh, and serving as an operating partner at Next Phase Capital. You've also worn the executive chairman hat across multiple portcos, which gives you such a unique vantage point on leadership, succession planning, and what it takes to unlock growth. So just thank you so much for joining me today.
Thanks, Sean. Yeah, I don't want to oversimplify it, but one of the things I always say to the people and the founders that we meet, and by the way, 90% of our deals are with founders, and we are the first institutional capital. So the thing that we always try to focus on is three things. We want to have great people, we want to have a great performance culture, and build a great brand, and the rest will take care of itself. The reason we invest is because the founder with their team have already created something that's great. And typically they're looking for either some additional capital or they want help to get to that, next phase. And hence the name. But typically we're looking for people that have proven results. They have process that's repeatable,
Hmm.
that we can understand. It's not lightning in a bottle that happened in their past or what they're doing right now. They can adhere to that performance culture. They are willing to carry the bag.
A lot of what you just talked about is around culture, even how it shows up in terms of carrying the bag, so to speak. How do you identify that, right? When you're talking to a founder and you're recommending, the build out of a leadership team, how do you identify that entrepreneurial skill set?
Whenever, we're talking, to people, we are evaluating on a number of different things. Have they had results? Are the results relatable to the business that we're talking about? You want to look for those examples, as I say. Did they carry the bag? Were
Hmm.
they there? Did they say they're in sales? Were they there who owned the key account relationship? Do they know people at multiple levels? And, I think also interestingly today, increasingly, do they have a location plan?
Hmm.
So now, people are now working more remotely than they ever did before. And that's a reality. Now, a lot of our businesses, they are in the office, and particularly manufacturing businesses, because you can't manufacture from home. So
Sure.
but today, increasingly, you got to have a location plan in terms of, what you're looking for for these people.
Any advice on for founders who are looking to build a location plan? Like what have you seen work well when companies are thinking through hybrid, remote, fully remote?
So I think you have to step back and say, what's the objective?
Hmm.
So for instance, let's say we have a sales leader. Now we always say there's no sale made in your office.
Hmm.
It's out with the customers, and you also have to understand what's happening at retail at the store. So they got to be out. But the objective is they must have a presence in the office. So there has to be some physical presence there so that they can, collaborate with the other functions to create the plans that are going to work. Now, let's say it's a CFO and there's a lot more the interaction, and that maybe that's a little bit more, but it can still work, remotely. And a lot of it will just depend in terms of what's the objective. So like a CEO, they're touching more functions. So therefore, again, the objective is, that might mean more time.
I know that you prefer to leverage a scorecard, which we think is just a great way to assess candidates and specify areas in that recruitment process that you really want to dive deep into in terms of their experience and skill set. Can you talk a little bit about your methodology, why, how you think about it, why it's important, and just your process?
Yeah. So look, there's a lot of subjectivity to this. So as much as possible, I try to reduce the uncertainty with that. So, and I work with our team. Now, I don't impose it on the team. What I do with the team is I tell them, okay, here's what I'm using to evaluate candidates. And in our role as partners to founders, to teams, this is one of the most important things that we do. We help them find great people. So, for instance, let's say, we're finding a head of sales, but this will apply to like any C-suite. The first thing is I'm looking for a track record of results, and what I will do is I will evaluate all these attributes and I will rank them, and at the end, each person will have a score, whatever, and it helps us calibrate early. And it also helps us have a discussion of, well, why did we rank that person higher than this person? Oh, well, on this attribute, saw examples. So, let's say in sales, what are their results? In what kind of companies? What was their role? Do they have that multi-channel experience? Today, and that would be across all C-suite, a lot of our companies are very digitally oriented. Some are digitally native and then go into retail. Some are start at retail and go into, to the digital. So people with that understanding, and somebody might say, well, look, if I'm managing the Walmart account, why do I need to have multi-channel experience? Well, because you have to understand how pricing can compete with the different channels and the promotions and understanding how that happens. So, understanding that. Do they have that analytical and strategic capability? So walk us through a problem that you had and you had to take data and insight to navigate to a solution. We also use predictive index as a way from a cultural fit, which really what I would say is there's no ideal profile, but some profiles are more relevant for different roles. And we found that to be, very, very helpful. So we use that as well.
You talked a little bit about how just the e-commerce digital landscape has impacted certain roles. One of them is marketing. I would love to get your perspective on how you found that role to evolve and what does great marketing talent look like today?
Yeah. Yeah, that's one of the roles that's evolved the most, I would say. Now, with the performance marketing, I think what the biggest evolution today is we're looking for people that, number one, have the strategic capability to define a great brand proposition. They can rank order the most important attributes in the category that they're competing in. They know exactly how their brand is performing against each. They define the ones that they're going to focus on to create that unique proposition. From there, they have the capability to develop great content that's going to resonate. That can be everything from packaging to innovation to online content, traditional media, etc. And importantly, they have the ability to evaluate it and have the analytical capability. And it doesn't always have to be them. I mean, there's a lot of tools out there. So part of it is, do they have the capability to navigate those tools? To have a suite of performance tools that you can say, hey, we're doing well. We're getting a return on this. No, we're not getting a return on that, and turn it into action. Yeah, that'd be one of the ones that's evolved, the most.
I want to talk about some of the successes, one in particular, Popcornopolis, which you've been a part of, you supported during its growth and eventual acquisition and partnership with Grupo Bimbo. From your perspective, what supported that brand in becoming an attractive asset for a buyer, particularly around the leadership team or the roles that impacted that sale or the influence of that sale to Grupo Bimbo?
Yeah, so the first thing we do with any company that we're going to invest in is that even during diligence, we will create a strategic plan with that founder and or management team. And we will get alignment on that even before closing. Because this is a very obviously it's a partnership that's going to last. And if we don't agree on where the real value generators are going to be, we shouldn't partner together. So it's very much an open book. And I think and diligence really goes both ways. And I think a good partner does that. So that's, the first things. Popcornopolis, like, all of our businesses, it's not just about top line growth. It's also profitable growth so that you maximize the parties that were going to be interested in that type of business. So It was all about taking it more of a niche of a confectionery that was in club and in the perimeter in a cone and creating a product that actually get on shelf. And also we always focused on the velocity. One of the things that we come across in terms of some businesses, they will talk about their strength of being national in scope. It's only a strength if you have the industry leading velocities. So we're always focusing on velocities. We created a lot of innovation around allowing that package format to get on shelf and compete with other products and not rely exclusively on, club and the perimeter in the cone. And that expanded the business into many different occasions. We had an operations organization that had the ability to do different package formats
Mm.
and different types of innovation that were going to, lend itself to the different channels that we were expanding in.
So that strategic plan is almost the blueprint for the org design.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and that's why I say we do not have, okay, here's our template for every business.
Right.
We align with the business on and the founder and the management team. And because we're primarily in the backing management team business, founder, and sometimes the founder wants to step back, but it depends. It's whatever the founder and the management team want to do. Yeah, we don't have a one size fits all. It really depends on the business, and then we will define what are the value levers that we're going to be focusing on. Brand proposition's always there. The distribution growth. Are we going to add margin optimization either through procurement, value engineering, how we make revenue maximization, distribution expansion, all of those things. So we will rank those and say these are the most important. Okay, what's the talent that we have against each of those, and do we have gaps? There's always gaps.
Yeah.
But sometimes, the gaps are filled by maybe we bring in and do a temporary project and that the team learns and then they have that skill set and then they can carry on. So again, it depends,
Yeah.
but we align in advance with the founder, with the management team on that strategic plan, and that will drive it.
Amazing. Well, Doug, I just really appreciate what you've shared today, just your experiences and your perspective. So thank you so much for joining.
Hey, you bet. Thanks, Sean.